Hey, that's why we have it. I got a funny email yesterday from Karineh
this
saying,
was important.
"Hey, I don't know if we've talked about this, but
Forget the water.
Is there milk?" And I was like, "I got you." Immediately go to the grocery store.
Whole milk.
Whole milk. That's very important.
He knew it was intuitive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name's Zach Osendorf, and you're watching The Wash. It's the show where it all comes out, and today I'm joined by Karineh Minissian of Norchem.
Hello.
Karineh, how are we doing?
Very nervous.
Very nervous?
Yeah,
I
my
can
lips
see
are
it.
trembling. Everything's trembling.
How are you with hot foods?
Ground pepper gets me crying, so
Oh, no.
we're starting
Well,
there.
you joined the perfect
That's
show.
the baseline.
Well, there we go. And with that, I guess we'll hop right in. All right, Karineh, when did you first start working at Norchem?
1993,
And
when I was born.
kind of talk to me about
officially, like right when I finished college, which was about 2015, 2016.
that. Yeah.
That's when I stepped in as an actual part of the company, but grew up with it my whole life.
Yeah. Was it something that you were planning on doing, or kind of talk to me about that?
Yeah, it's kind of that interesting feeling of you go out and you explore the world and you're exploring your interests and your passions and so forth, but in the back of your mind and always in your heart, you think of, what gave you that opportunity. And then obviously with my father and his story of how he created Norchem, it resonates, right, as you're making your decisions. So I think there was always a feeling that I would end up at Norchem, but not in a reluctant way. It was more like, and he always said it, if you want to do it, then come. If you don't want to do it, don't be here. And so I took that to heart, and I think when I got out of college, there was different events that brought me back to Los Angeles, and I just kind of dove right in and then started understanding my place in it. So, yeah, I think, and that goes with, my siblings as well, the ones that are involved.
Why did you decide to join Norchem and not pursue other opportunities? Were you looking at other things, or was Norchem kind of always in the cards as like something you would always do?
So I am pretty eclectic in my interests. So I went into college, I went into high school believing I was going to be a double MD, PhD. That was the path that I always kind of had in mind. At one point I even thought I was going to be a JD. Like anything and everything that had that prestige, I wanted to achieve it. When I got to Cal, I quickly learned that necessarily wasn't going to be my path. And I pivoted to something that I've always been really good at, which is writing, analyzing, and that's where rhetoric became my degree. And it's the funny question is like, what are you going to do with rhetoric? How's that paying the bills? And I learned more along the lines of how that just is the fabric of communication. And so you can kind of go any direction with it. And so from there, I got involved in a zoology museum at college. And I just started working in the scientific world in that way, and in the curator's office, and working with collections of species that have been collected since the early 1800s and stuff. So that really got me excited, and I thought, could there be a future here? Marine biology has always been something I really love. So there is, this hodgepodge of thoughts of where can I go? What can I do? So when I got out of college, I thought I could kind of, go over to SF, find a corporate job, start learning. But then I think in the end, I decided at that point in time that there was a need in the company, and I wanted to see how I could apply my skills, my knowledge into the administration side of the business. And so I started there, and I realized that I had a knack for it, and I wanted to support the family, and I wanted to support honestly, everything that the company represents, not just for my father, but also because of the team that's been with the company for so long.
Right.
So I think in the end, there definitely was something that was calling me there.
So who was the most influential person to you when deciding whether or not you wanted to join the family business?
My mom. I would say probably my mom, because she's always been that right arm to my dad, and she understood, because my dad would come home and he wouldn't really bring the business with him, and he was really good at that. So growing up, we never really saw the trials and tribulations of what that meant. But my mom, obviously, she did. And so she was an advocate of kind of stepping into that role too and saying, you know, your dad's never going to ask you, but I think this might be something that you should do because we've invested into your intelligence and your education and you have the demeanor. So why don't you consider something like this? And so I think she was definitely an important influence in that moment, specifically coming out of college. Because like I said before, it's like you have so many thoughts and you're like, where can I go? What can I do? And they were so vast. So she's like, why don't we hone you in and see where that goes? And I was like, I think you're right.
That's a cool conversation to have too, especially, you know, with the legacy that your dad had and everything with Norchem, and then, you know, being welcomed with essentially open arms, being like, hey, let's go do this thing together. Yeah, that's cool.
And we were already used to going into the office. You know, we would be there anyway. You know, so it's just, you get curious and you start thinking, oh, you know, what's this about? Or how can I help here? File this, you know, it just, you get into the weeds of it. And so she understood that. And I think she was definitely pushing us in that direction. Yeah. But she wanted it to be our decision.
Did you ever think you would have a different career path? You kind of talked about your rhetoric, you know, background and everything like that. Was there ever, you know, like you had other things in mind, like you wanted to really go do that? Like there's something passionate you wanted to go do, or has it always been like,
Yeah. There's two thoughts that come to mind. One is I wanted to be on a boat in the middle of the ocean, just studying marine life, specifically whales, sharks. That was like, I could see myself doing that. I am very seasick, so there was like, you know, could that be possible? And also, how do you begin that? It was a very competitive landscape to even start that. So then the other thought that I lean into is like the potential of being an attorney, you know, going down the legal route. I was always very good at, you know, understanding different documentation that came in front of me and finding an argument. It's like I've always been that person in the family.
Right.
So that actually at one point became a real big thought in my mind. It's like, should I consider investing in that part of, you know, the testing and then going through the program and stuff? But
that'd be kind of cool.
Then you realize there's, you know, in LA, throw a rock, you hit an attorney. So it's kind of like, why? Why suffer?
Well, I mean, being out in the middle of the ocean would be really cool too.
Yeah, I'd rather be in the ocean. Nobody call me with your BS.
Nobody do it. Throw the phone in the ocean.
Yeah, so that was a thought. And in a lot of ways, you know, in the role that I have and the way I started and understanding human resources and specifically HR compliance and the legal side of things, it came into effect anyway. And so I think that lent itself to my ability to kind of pick up quickly and learn on my own.
Right,
so
right.
It's incorporated for sure.
Yeah. All right, so this part of the program is called Explain That Gram. We take a deep dive into your Instagram, social media, and you have to explain a photo.
Okay.
So found this photo of your family. Just kind of explain, you know, what your family kind of means to you, you know, with Norchem being a family business and everything like that.
You're going to make real tears happen right now. I remember that moment so well, actually. That's in SF on the wharf. So we grew up a soccer family.
Yeah.
That was my dad's favorite thing in life. That was his religion. And a lot of ways, growing up, we played a lot of sports, but it always came back to soccer. I obviously had, I guess it's not obvious, but I had my own history with injury playing, but my youngest sister, got to Division I. And she ended up going to UC Davis, which was very close to UC Berkeley. And that was the pride and joy of kind of that moment in time. So we would drive to her games, and my dad, no matter where he was, he would drive or fly to see her play. And so that trip specifically that we went to SF after was we went and saw her play, and then we did a road trip down from there to, which is not very far, and we just hung around the wharf together, and we ate chowder, and we walked around, and we found somebody to take photos of us here, and it was sunset right on the bay. It was great. It was moments like these in our family that I actually am really excited we have the privilege of remembering, because we did a lot as a family, and we always would travel the best we could because of soccer or other reasons. I mean, I went to the Clean Show probably when I was like 6. Yeah. I remember that very well, being in Orlando. And so it was very much like, it was very important to him that we were present. Yeah. And this was another example of that.
So how do you explain Norchem to someone who may not know anything about your company?
That's been my lifelong mission, to be honest. The way I always say it is, do you see these linen, or when you go to a restaurant, this, or you're in a hospital on a bed, do you ever think about who cleans those? Where do they get washed? And then I think that resonates with people who just don't understand the industry, or that it exists. I'm crying right now. And so I start there, and then I say, well, okay, there's a company that provides the chemistry and the equipment to be able to do that. So that's kind of where we started. That was our founding, was soaps, detergents, providing that chemistry to commercial laundries. And the first reaction is always, like a dry cleaner or a laundromat. I'm like, no, it's bigger, millions of pounds a week, you know. So that helped set a tone. And then I said, okay, and then think about all the water and how dirty it is, and in layman's terms, you know. And then we find a way to clean that and send it back into the operation. I'm crying right now.
That's totally fine.
So emotional. Yeah, so we're that, you know, all-in-one partner that provides these different technologies and solutions and specifically clean chemistry to these vendors. I mean, to these operators. I'll start hallucinating in a second. Yeah. So that's kind of how I explain it, and specifically taking the angle from how we kind of differentiated ourselves and what we, how we pioneered one of the first systems in the industry in the way that we did, or the dispensing system that we have, or, you know, how back in the late 90s my father worked with EPA to help create detergents that did not have certain toxic additives and things like that, or, you know, ingredients that they wanted to move away from. So just how we've kind of positioned ourselves.
All right, so pretty simple question. What's a brief history of Norchem?
Norchem, actually the story of Norchem starts before Norchem. Starts with HiChem. HiChem was my dad's first official company that he created. And its Hi is Hye, which is in Armenian, the word for an Armenian, and chemistry, so Armenian chemistry. That was his first venture. And I think that's where he started laying the roots into being a supplier to commercial laundries and developing the technology behind the dispensing system, the Norflow. So after kind of picking up traction, he then created Norchem. And Norchem is, the prefix is Nor, which is new, so new chemistry. And so that was in 1989, the same year that my brother was actually born. And that was born out of a fire that happened at HiChem. So within a few months, he had to position everything and restart, and that came with the new beginnings as a father for the first time, this new venture, this new building, this new team. And he was the type of person who saw things in people before they realized it themselves a lot of the time, and he would invest in that, and that helped build the team that we still have today, some of whom have been with us almost as long as the company's been around and predate when Norchem started. So with that, this curiosity, this drive to constantly provide solutions to customers, he was the type of person who stood back and said, it's more than just this, it's everything. It's how you create an operation and support an operation. And then he innovated as he went. And the team behind him believed in that and kept innovating with him.
Why did your father create the Ultra Pure, and what was he trying to do with that?
He saw a need for it, I think, more than anything. It's water and compliance and, you know, sewer discharge. It's very expensive, and especially in different places in the state, California and Los Angeles especially. So he saw an opportunity to, you know, create kind of like a closed loop in a way to allow for savings above and beyond just water, but heat, chemistry, you know, and recirculate that back in. But he always had a knack for wanting to do something that was environmentally conscious and they're conscientious. So it's that sustainability aspect too, that he's like, we need to help the environment because this is such a taxing component to it. You know, the amount of, he used to always say, it's one of the dirtiest, you know, environments to clean so much, and then now you're just kind of letting it go. Or can we bring it back and find a purpose for it? And so I think that was the first thought of him trying to create something based on a pain point he saw in the operations that he would walk into frequently.
Where does Norchem do business, and how do you onboard a new customer? What's that like if someone wants to become a customer of Norchem?
Sure. So the first question, like where are we on the map?
Where are you? Yeah.
We're definitely national and international and multinational. I think where we have the ability to support a customer, we do. And in some ways, they come to us, and in other ways, we find them. I think it is driven by what challenges do they have, and how can we support them and offer something for that. And sometimes it's just one specific thing, and other times, that is the gateway to other solutions that we have. But I think our team does a really good job is working collectively and understanding the various needs, because to get an ultra pure, you're putting something in place that is going to affect the water, that's going to affect the wash. So even if we're not your chemical supplier, that plays into how you calibrate it to have a synergy, right? So I think because we have that expertise in both ways, it provides that value to the customer, whether or not they want that side of it or the other side of it. So in an experience of bringing on a chemical account, it takes a lot of surveys. It takes, as it does with the UltraPure or a water filtration unit or anything that's engineered for a customer, it takes a lot of surveys. It takes a lot of internal design conversations. It takes good meetings with the customer and the various people on the floor in their decision-making room. It's a collaborative experience. And the most important thing is identifying who their main contact is going to be for their support in the region, especially if it's a service rep for a chemical account. Really familiarizing them with the facilities, understanding the needs, understanding the schedule, understanding the frequency, and maybe how other things that maybe don't even relate to us might impact it, and how we can offer solutions for them. So it's start to finish, really.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that culture and that mindset is how we've helped customers find trust in what we can do for them.
Right.
And it kind of progresses from there, I would say.
All right, Wing 10,
Yeah.
We've made it to the top of the hot sauce
Ding,
mountain.
ding, ding.
We did it. Great job. I want to thank you again for coming
Thank you.
out to Minnesota and
Let's get all out before we can't talk
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, Wing
Thank
10,
you. I
here we go.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no problem. This has been fun. Yeah, that's plenty.
That's plenty.
Yep. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
I wonder if this side of my taste buds is just numb
gone
now,
now.
so I can handle it there. If I put it to the right
Non-existent.
side, it might be a different experience. It wasn't as bad as I thought, but we'll wait.
Yeah. We'll wait. Okay.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
what things
it's
are you
moving on.
looking forward to the most with Norchem in this next year, next 5 years? Just where is Norchem at, in the future?
Certainly. Give me 1 second.
Whole milk.
Okay. So obviously, it's no secret that we've had a life-changing, experience in the last 2 years that kind of changed the road that we're on, from the standpoint of just my brother and I coming into a certain role. But I think at the heart of it, our company has always prided itself on what we do, and I think that has carried forward in how we're still here and still thriving and still innovating and wanting to support our customers in the way that we do. So the future, I think, is a lot more of that growth that allows for more team members and expansion of what we can offer, and expansion of just coverage of the map, right? Having more reps in the field to have that reach. And that would be our hope, and it is our intention, right, to continue that legacy that we have, because this is more than just a company. It's people's livelihoods. We support the livelihoods of the people we employ, and there in turn supports the livelihoods of and the organizations of our customers, and so on and so forth. It's
Right.
always a chain event, and we look at it from that perspective that they've invested so much time into the mission of the company, and we want to continue investing in them and their growth, and I think it has that ripple effect from there. So
Right.
I know that if my father was still around, it would be another 100 years for him.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was then the mentality he had, and that's what we've have the privilege of carrying on.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. We see it every day.
Yeah,
So,
good.
all right. Well, Karineh, you made it.
I did.
No tears with that one.
There's a lot of tears.
There's a lot of tears. We can zoom in right here.
Thank you.
And see it.
Yeah. Cut. Yeah.
So, Karineh, thank you again for coming out
Thank you.
here. If you guys like that, please like and subscribe to our channel down below. And Karineh, thanks again. That was The Wash, where it all comes out. So,
It all
thanks,
came out.
everybody.
Thanks.